I call myself a private ear, and that kind of encompasses everything that I do. How I'm investigating sounds, but also in a way which speaks to me being a kind of independent operator who can try and attempt to pull from the sounds that I'm analyzing my own narratives. For me, sound is very much part of the messiness of the world. It's very much inseparable from vision. And for me, what I'm most interested in sound is not the medium itself, but that it can't be contained, that you can't put it in a box, that it will always leak. And so what do those questions of leakage mean, and how does leakage allow us to actually arrive at questions around identity or whatever it may be from a different angle? What I'm exhibiting for the Turner Prize and what I was nominated for is a body of work which has a kind of umbrella title of Earwitness theatre. In the whole project that I developed since 2016 was in response to an acoustic investigation I was invited to participate in, together with forensic architecture, into the prison Saydnaya, which is 25 kilometers north of Damascus. And in that prison, people rarely leave their cell. They're blindfolded as they enter and exit. And so they never really saw where they were and the prison itself. And what I could do as someone who works with sound and who's done this kind of audio investigations before was to try and work with them based on their acoustic memories to produce testimony about what was happening inside the prison, perhaps based on, for example, how many locks they heard, how many cells were in use. So I really dedicated 2 years of work to really trying to find a language for what I learned in that place and with those people. And they really fundamentally changed the way I thought about the human voice, memory, and the way I thought about architecture. My work since then has been dedicated to kind of trying to communicate that to a public. And to do that, it means not only to tell the story of Saydnaya, but also to show how those things that they raised in those interviews are relevant for our everyday experience and our broader experience. Then what I'm going to show in Margate is 3 works. The one that most directly relates to the acoustic investigation part of the prison is called The Missing 19 Decibels. It's a visual work that's silent. It's to do with the ways in which I had to use the level at which the detainees could whisper as a way to measure the changing conditions within of the prison. The Earwitness inventory, or after SFX, as I'm presenting it here, it's my own personal sound effects library. It's 95 custom-made and sourced objects that are all derived from the ways in which witnesses describe sounds they heard. And it looks at how the strange ways that often sounds become tethered to objects. It's really about how we cannot really separate our experience of sound, and particularly violent events, from cinema. So like in a trial in New Zealand, for example, the guy repeatedly says that the punch sounded like an egg cracking, until you realize that he cannot really separate the egg from the violent incident, that somehow these things become conjoined in the acoustic imagination. So these are kind of moments which allow us to understand the ways in which acoustic memory works, the lack of language that we have to describe sounds, and the place of objects that come in to stand in for that language that we do not yet speak. And finally, the film Walled Unwalled. The starting point is really the way that those prisoners had made me understand their relation to their walls of their cell. They never left the cell, sometimes for 3 years. Their relation of the walls, which both reflected sounds coming in, allowed them to hear the prison and the space around them, but also was a place where leakage and the porosity of the walls themselves was used as a kind of torture device. It's really trying to understand walls as both solid and permeable structures. I think art has the possibility to tell a truth. I think it is a mode of truth production, just like the law, just like science. But I think it has its own way of telling the truth. And that's really what my goal is, to both posit truth, but also to push at the boundaries of what constitutes testimony, or what constitutes speech.